Well, hello everyone, I'm Postmaster Radio, and it's time to bring on the turkey! Nah, I'm just kidding, although I do hope you had an amazing Thanksgiving weekend. No, it's actually time to bring on the funny. Oh yeah, you're listening to Ujokes Weekly. This is, for those of you that do not know, the official podcast highlighting Jonathan Mangam's virtual comedy show Ujokes, where comedians, and even you guys and gals on YouTube and Facebook, compete for the best joke. It is literally comedy gold at your fingertips. Now, the comedians from Tuesday night's show were Jay Rodriguez and Robyn Roth, and well, you know what? That's actually not the most important thing about this week on Ujokes. Sorry, Jay and Robyn, no offense to your comedic talents, but this week, the entire Ujokes audience dominated, and it may have had to do with Ujokes' 50th episode celebration last Friday. And yeah, I know, it's amazing. Basically, two previous Ujokes winners from the last show's Best Hall of Fame were selected randomly, and then they started the show. But then, the audience, whoever's playing live on YouTube and Facebook, would submit their joke too, as per usual, and if their joke was picked by Jonathan's producer Josh, they were invited onto the episode, and they had a potential chance to dethrone one of the two audience members and kick them off. It was an amazing battle, if I do say so myself, kind of like if Ujokes and Game of Thrones had a baby. Anyway, so because of the all-audience show, but also, more importantly, because the audience is so good, it's like Jonathan says, now he asks if the pros can beat us. That is how good the Ujokes audience is. And so this week's top 5 countdown, it is nothing but audience-submitted jokes. I kid you not. Of course, we will come back to Jay and Robyn as part of Ujokes Extras. Plus, keep listening until the very end, because I do have a quick announcement about a Ujokes change, because the show is on hiatus this week and next week, and there is something you will need to know: the new Ujokes schedule following the end of this 2-week hiatus. So all of that's going to come up at the end of today's show. Keep listening for that. Oh, and one more thing. You may have another Ujokes show you may have missed. Remember the one with Kim Caldwell and Matt Newston? Catch up now via the podcast link in the description. But anyway, enough chit-chat. It's time to start with the Ujokes Top 5 Countdown. My 5 favorite jokes from the week, but in this case, my 5 favorite Ujokes audience jokes. Spot number 5 is going to go to Daniel Paul Crow from YouTube, and this is for a game called 7-Word Thoughts. You know how this game goes. Based on the picture, you have to guess what that person or thing is thinking in exactly 7 words. The pic showed a woman reading a newspaper that was on fire, and this was Daniel's joke. Again, in 7 words. Wow, this news story is so hot. Yeah, and congrats to Daniel for that joke. Not only was it funny, but it also was the winner for that game as well. Impressive stuff. Alright, and now for the rest of the countdown. This is how good the Ujokes all-audience show was. For the rest of the countdown, the spotlight is on that show, but again, we'll come back to a couple of extra jokes from episode 49 in Ujokes Extras. But moving on right now to spot numero 4 on this week's Ujokes Countdown, we are going to give it to Jess S. Good old Jess. Now, does he sound a little bit familiar to you? Well, he should, because this is actually his 3rd time that he was playing live on the show. Live as in being invited onto the Ujokes chat, if that makes any sense. But he was also the last show's best twice now among that group of people, like Josh Bagley and Martin Jones, to be last show's best twice. And I think we even mentioned him on last week's podcast as well. So great to talk about Jess again. Such a funny guy on the show. The joke I'm referring to, because he had a lot of funny jokes from the show, he managed to stay in the game for quite a while, all the way until the very end, could not be discarded. But for this particular spot on the countdown, I'm going to give it to his joke, his winning joke from What Is This a Commercial For? And if you're surprised by me saying winning joke and Jess in the same sentence, you really should not be. In this case, the picture showed a fly taking a bath in the tub, and while normally I'm not that big on politics, I will make an exception in Jess's case, partially because, well, A, topical, and B, well, come on, it's not like this joke wasn't going to come up at some point.
This is a commercial for removing Michael Pence's hair from your legs. So if you've landed on something you don't want and you need to get rid of it, such as Michael Pence's hair, this is the razor for you.
Nice joke, Jess. The third spot on the countdown is going to go to Amy, and she was one of the two Ujokes winners, the previous Ujokes winners, randomly selected to start the show. Maybe you remember her, actually. I believe she has her own improv troupe, or she organizes a lot of improv shows, which I find pretty exciting. Anyway, so the joke from Amy's that I'm referring to is from one of my favorite games personally, Name the Movie, for the picture of a giant Terminator-like hamster, or is that a guinea pig? I'm not sure. And it's kind of like, well, maybe you could picture it already. The background is just a bunch of buildings, and then the giant hamster that's almost like the Terminator, or like a red-eyed Godzilla. Point being, Amy's joke, it was a really good one. Also, the winning joke for that game.
That is actually a movie coming up in J.K. Rowling's alternative universe, and it's Bellatrix Potter and the Invasion of Squirrel Nutkin.
I like it. You squished a bunch of syllables into that and it worked.
To be honest, I'm kind of surprised her joke won, but at the same time, I'm a big fan of Harry Potter myself, so what the hey, fantastic. The second spot on the countdown is going to go to, you know what, this hasn't happened in a while, I don't think, audience-wise. It could be a first, but we go back to Jess yet again, and this time this is from Happy Hour, or as I'm sure it's now being dubbed, the game that most Ujokes shows end with. It's not that surprising at this point. For the picture of Saint Nick drinking, this is the joke that Jess had, which, oh boy, ho ho ho, am I right?
This is definitely a drink that is completely pure alcohol, and it's called Let's Get Blitzened.
Seriously, Jess, how do you do it? But for those of you that are thinking that Jess is going to make the number one spot on the Ujokes countdown, well, think again. While it is really awesome to have funny jokes that come from this extraordinary guy, the number one spot actually goes to a man by the name of David, who was the second out of the two Ujokes previous winners to randomly start the show. And his joke, his winning joke, hopefully this doesn't come as a surprise to anyone that may have caught him on his first episode a long while back. This is from Yoga to Be Crazy, where based on the picture shown, you have to come up with a yoga pose. For the silent but deadly pick, if you know what I mean, Daniel's joke, albeit a little lengthy, you will not believe how all the more worthwhile listening to that setup is. Just trust me on this one.
This picture won the Pulitzer Prize in photography.
Oh.
So it was either this or a picture of scientists discovering the Higgs boson particle. And they went with this. I think that was the right decision.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but yoga poses have two names. They have the original Hindi name and the Americanized version.
Yep.
The Hindi name is a version of downward facing dog. It's called upward facing colon. And the American name is helpless frog on back after eating Taco Bell. And the coda is, I'm sorry, Beth, you can't take class here anymore.
Oh, poor Beth. She is a Beth, I can tell.
Yeah, I don't know how many jokes he had within that one joke, but either way, nothing can beat that, David. Nothing at all. So congratulations. What a great joke. And with that, we come to the end of the Ujokes Top 5 Countdown. And by the way, can I just say from now, what an amazing all-audience show. You seriously need to check it out if you missed it. You can do so via the YouTube channel, the Ujokes YouTube channel, which I will leave you a link to in the description. Alternatively, there is also Jonathan's Facebook page, providing that the show is, on there as well. But anyway, let's jump right to it, to the next segment for today, the Ujokes Awards, which, for those of you that do not know, is like the Oscars, only 50% shorter. It's true. Now, normally we'd start with Comedian of the Week, but neither Jay Rodriguez nor Robyn Roth made it onto the Ujokes Top 5 Countdown. And for me to consider them as Comedian of the Week, at least one of their jokes needs to be a part of the top 5 countdown. But since the entire Ujokes audience dominated this week, sorry Jay, sorry Robyn, but the virtual made-up trophy for Comedian of the Week shall go unclaimed this week. Dun dun dun. But I can give out an award for Game of the Week, and that's actually for all of them. To be honest, a lot of the games were great in episode 49, but because of the all-audience show, literally every single game from the 50th show was just all the more fantastic. It can't even be a 3-way tie. So, yeah, think about that, why don't you? However, I do have a definitive handout for the Audience Award. Jess had multiple fantastic jokes, but David, on the other hand, oh my god, that joke of his was just wow. So you know what? You both had the best jokes, I would say, from that entire week. So both of you get the Audience Award. And in terms of our last award of the night, Manga Moment, because of course this is Jonathan's show too, honestly, it's just seeing him on the entire 50th show and just getting to see him happy and all that and celebrating the show. Although, if anything, I did like his struggle with the technical difficulties at some point. Those kinds of moments, they may have been a little messed up, a little bit awkward, but nonetheless, you can only expect that sort of thing with live virtual comedy. But seriously, always great to see Jonathan doing his thing, hosting the show, and what an amazing week of Ujokes that was. Oh, and on that note, as we wrap up the Ujokes Awards for today, it's time for Ujokes Extras, the jokes that come so close to making the countdown, but utterly no cigar. Let's see what we have here. So this first joke is actually from me, from a Game of Inspirational poster for the picture of a clown biting some weird animal. Now my joke was, and I can't believe it got picked, and believe it or not, my first Ujokes win, for that matter, a Pennywise saved is none the penny wiser. Oh, and by the way, if you're wondering, with this kind of an amazing joke, why didn't it make the countdown? Well, this actually, I think, happened once before with the sci-fi show. For my jokes being picked, I didn't include those only because the Ujokes Top 5 Countdown, I only consider jokes that I have heard, not jokes that I have submitted. Otherwise, that'd be completely biased in my favor, and that's not how I roll. That being said, though, Pennywise saved, none the penny wiser. Probably one of my best jokes yet, if I do say so myself. Man, I am feeling good. Oh, and as for the other extras, here is where we get to the comedians. Jay Rodriguez from that same game, Get Busy Living or Die Doing This. Whatever this is. And finally, from Robyn, Roth, back to that 7-word thoughts game, the good old-fashioned way to unsubscribe. Not too shabby, Robyn. Bad luck, of course, to our comedians since they did not make the Ujokes Top 5 this week, but at the same time, huge shout out to the entire Ujokes audience for pretty much slaying the competition this week. Boom! Well done, everyone. Congrats to Daniel, Jess, Amy, David, and everyone else playing all of last week on YouTube and Facebook. You were amazing. Okay, and before we officially wrap up this week's Ujokes podcast, this is just a friendly reminder. Since this podcast is coming to you on Tuesday, October 13th, I would like to remind you that there is no new Ujokes show tonight, no show this Friday, and no new Ujokes shows next week either. Ujokes won't be back until Monday, October 26th, and that is going to be the new schedule. Instead of twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays, it will now be once a week on Mondays. Again, starting October 26th, but at the usual time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 Eastern. I would also like to add, though, that the first week or two, or if I'm being honest, even maybe 3 or 4 weeks coming back from the Ujokes hiatus could be a little bit problematic. Especially though in the last week of October, I do not think I'll be able to do a Ujokes podcast that week since I'll be especially busy in the last couple of days of the month leading up to Halloween. It will all have to depend on my schedule. Same deal for the first 3 weeks of November. And so at the absolute latest, the Ujokes podcast may not be back until Tuesday, November 24th. I'm not entirely sure if that's the case, but we'll see what happens, I guess. Also, of course, be sure to stay connected with me on Twitter, Instagram, Spreaker, Spotify, and and YouTube for all fans of the Ujokes podcast, and so much more. The account links are in the description. Thanks for listening to this week's Ujokes podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and happy 50th episode to Ujokes. Can't wait for more fun from Jonathan, his famous friends, and of course, the Ujokes audience taking down the competition, which you know is going to happen. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now, guys. See ya.